Hi everyone, I'm Nick Fran, founder of Bespoke Media Group, and now we get to the social media section. So just to give you a little bit of my background, I've been in real estate now for 17 years and was the first real estate agent in Australia to list and sell property on Facebook back in 2015. So I've been building my social media presence since 2014, and today I wanted to go through with you a couple of steps and a couple of things and procedures that I implemented which helped me get to that point, talking about marketing, branding, lead generation, and how to basically build an online database. There's a lot of marketing agencies out there that do what we do, but a lot of them are not in real estate or understand the speed at which the industry moves. The first thing I do want to clarify though is let's get real about what is the result. A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on likes, comments, and followers. The one thing I can't stress enough is they are not results. I want to go through a screenshot here. So as you can see from this example, REB wrote us an article in September of last year. Now, for a lot of people, they'll put a lot of emphasis on the 24 likes that the post got. What I care about is the 1,080 views that it received. Now, 1,080 people saw that post. So that, to me, the reach is what I find a lot of value in. So let me throw a few words out there and see what you think. Dark web, dark post, integration, impressions. Are you lost yet? Okay, so let's look at some words that you may understand. Likes, comments, followers, engagement. Think about that context when you are putting out content on your social media channels. As agents, we are used to the lingo like contracts exchange, 66W, sold prior to auction, groups through, parties through, all that kind of thing. Mrs. Smith, who is watching you on social media, may not understand what you're talking about. So think about the language that you're using when you are putting content out to your marketplace. So we've got the language down pat, but also think about the time that they're most engaging on social media. So it's generally between 6 to 9 o'clock at night. So they're watching Married at First Sight, they're engaged, with the program, but as soon as the ad break comes on, nobody wants to be sold to on social media. So the kind of content you want to put out, you've got to remember that they're probably sitting at home, they've had a busy day at work, they just want to relax and chill. People go to social media as a place to escape and get entertained. They don't necessarily go on social media to be sold to. So think about the kind of content that you're putting out, which we're going to come to now. Okay, so now for the part I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for, the content side of things. So on January 8th last year, we put this image out. Now, as you can see, it's a picture of a baby girl staring up at the camera with a lot of paint around her. So that, believe it or not, was a just listed post. But what we did is we built a story around that for social media. So the girl's name was Chelsea. We wrote a nice little story in the caption as far as, she's getting a little baby brother. He was due in March. Mum and dad want to upsize out of their 2-bedroom apartment in Elizabeth Bay, so they needed a bigger house. What we did with that, our job is to stop the scroll. So as you're scrolling through social media, what our job is to stop your marketplace scrolling and then link them back to your website to look at your property. It's not there, no one is really going to engage with a picture of a lounge room or the front of a house in 2021. As I said, people want to be engaged. So that particular ad, we sent that out as an email and we also put it out on social media, and we got about 37 or 38 inquiries within 24 hours. So what that showed us was the power of emotive marketing. We put the human element back into a social media post, which was actually for a listing. Our job on social is to find the passive buyer, the passive tenant, or the passive seller. Someone who might be thinking about transacting in the next 3 to 6 months, but they're not quite there yet. They're not looking on the major portals. Our job is to put you in front of them at a time when they don't need you, so as when they are ready to transact, you're top of mind. So we started going down this train of marketing for the first few months of last year. We started putting in pictures of nests with no birds and no eggs in for the empty nesters or the downsizers. With this photo here, we named this little fella Milo. He's got a big smile on his face and he's running down through a grassy patch. Now the backstory to Milo was he was coming from a 1-bedroom apartment in Newtown and they were moving down to the Southern Highlands. As we all know, puppies on Instagram is gold. So again, it was to stop the scroll. We will get the people back, and we'll come to ads in a second on how we get them from your Instagram page over to your website and convert leads and link clicks and all that kind of thing. But the first thing we've got to do is stop the scroll. The key thing to remember is When people are on social, they're there to be social. They're not there to be sold to. The major portals will sell property and lease property. Your website will lease and sell property. So when you are going to be on social media, be social. So what does that look like? How do you get a marketing plan together? How do you get a strategy together? So I know a lot of you have seen the 30 content pieces that we've been advertising. So why don't we go through those now? Let's talk about growing your audience, for instance. A lot of people say to me, Nick, I want more followers. How do I get more followers? How do I get my name out there? Number one, have you ever thought about putting your social media icons on your signboards, on your DLs, on your brochures and all that kind of thing? I know it sounds silly, but a lot of people won't think to go to your socials unless they're prompted. There are community groups as well, and it's a great idea to get involved with your community groups. So if we look at this screenshot here, Bondi Local Loop, Potts Pointers, and the Northern Beaches Buy, Sell, Swap each have 80,000 plus people in those groups. So that is 80 to 100,000 people that we can see in these three groups that you can not necessarily market to, but you can connect on social media. You can go in there, you can ask questions, you can answer questions, you can be known as that well-rounded professional that we all want to be. Okay, so the best way to grow your audience is by syncing your contacts in your phone. So in the settings part on Instagram, what you can do is sync your contacts. So anyone who's got an Instagram account with their phone number that's in your phone connected, they will start to generally blend through to the people you may know or the little follow on the right hand side. The same can be done with Facebook and also LinkedIn. So when you go into LinkedIn, you sync your contacts. Anyone with an email address that is in your phone or your email system or your CRM, they will come up and you can send an invite out to 300 or 400 people at the same time. So that's probably the quickest, most inexpensive way to grow your following. Okay guys, so let's get into something that we all want to discuss, and that is lead generation and marketing and promotion. So there's a few different elements out there that you can use that we will touch on. SEO and Google, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that was something that was big 10 years ago with articles and YouTube and things like that. But I think times have changed, things have shifted to the point where I'm a big believer in, I would much rather put content in front of a defined audience rather than paying for Google AdWords and SEO and all that kind of thing, where you are paying for those placements, but also waiting for someone to type that into a Google search bar and come and find you. So you're almost competing in space with other people. It's just who ends up paying the most. So when we look at Facebook and Instagram, for instance, there's generally two types of formats that you can use for promotion. Now that is a boost and a paid ad. So let's go in and have a look at the difference between a boost and an ad. So the boost is like the spray and pray approach. So you might go and spend a couple of $100, do 1,000 deal letterbox drops. You're not going to reach everyone in your patch. It's very similar to a $20 boost. You're not going to reach everyone. It's not a defined and targeted audience. So it's really ineffective in that way. The capabilities that ads have, you can get more video views, you can get more leads, you can get more website conversions, you can sell products, you can actually define an audience that you want to target to. So not people that are never gonna engage with your product or service. You can be very specific to the kind of people that you want to attract. So the most cost-effective way is to use the database that you've already got. Most of us have a CRM that we're working with, and what a lot of people do fail to do is to export their database from Agentbox or Rex or My Desktop into an Excel spreadsheet, upload that into the back of Facebook and create an audience that way. The beautiful thing about that is you can then segregate your audience. So you might have landlords, buyers, sellers, tenants, referrers, whatever it is that you've got in your database, break them up so then you can target and create specific audiences for the kind of ads that you want to run. So this is not content that's going onto your pages for the whole world to see. You might want to do something in particular for your vendors or for your past appraisals. A great example of this is you may have a property that's just come on the market, but you're not yet ready to launch it on the major portals. What we can do is target an ad to a specific buyer database. The best thing I did when I was an agent was I segregated my audience. So if I had a property that was coming onto the market and the owner wasn't quite ready, what I did was I would download all my buyers, let's say up to $1 million. I would run a targeted ad to all those buyers in that vicinity. So it went out and it targeted people like them and people that looked like them online. So the best way to understand an ad is to look at one. So we're going to cut to this image here. So as you can see, we've ran this ad for 7 days with a $100 ad spend. Out of that $100, we received 600 link clicks, but it went out to 46,000 people. So we've reached 46,337 social media platforms within our marketplace. Over that 7 days, on average, everyone saw the ad around 4.5 times, a touch over 4 times. The cost per click was 17 cents. So let me ask you, can you reach 600 people? So that's almost like a connect. So you can see from that ad, we've reached 46,000 people within our marketplace. So out of that, 600 of those people have shown interest in our ad and have actually clicked on the link for more information. So that's very similar to a connect. Can you spend $100 in any other marketing or prospecting way and get 600 connects within a 7-day period with that connect only costing you about 17 cents? Guys, this is the power of social media marketing and the influence that it has. There is no other medium out there that you can get these kind of results for this kind of spend. But let's look at a lead generation campaign and we're going to cut to this example. Okay, so as you can see from this ad, we've spent $50 over a 7-day period. We've reached a touch over 1,500 people and it's cost us about $10 a lead, but we've got 5 leads out of it. So that is 7 days, 5 leads, 5 names, numbers and email addresses, and it's cost us $10 for that lead. Another example that we're going to pop up on the screen now is an ad that we ran over 3 days and we didn't even spend $20 on that campaign. So we reached about 3,500 people. We got 6 leads out of it, so another 6 names, numbers and email addresses with a cost of $3.08 per lead. So guys, this is how effective social media can be when you are using a targeted and specified audience. So guys, based on these results, you can see why social media is so effective in today's day and age. The traditional ways of being in the office and being on the phone from 9 to 5 and making those 100 calls and connects a day is quite archaic when you look at some of the stats and some of the results that we're getting on social media at the moment. We can reach people in a different way at a time that they're happy with. I mean, you think about when you're making your prospecting calls on a Monday, for instance, for your OFIs on the weekend. We are calling people at a time that's convenient for us because that's the time that we want to get through, we want to make those calls, we want to get our vendor reports done, and we want to get an offer and get some feedback, and it's all about what we want. But we do fail to realise that we're encroaching on somebody else's time. So they're at work, they're busy, they don't really want to talk to us about it. Whereas with social media, if we put something out there, they can engage with us at a time that they're happy with and they're comfortable with. They're also in a different mind frame when you're on social media. When you're on socials, you're not in buyer mode, you're not in sell mode, you're not in I'm being sold to. So just sit there and flick through Facebook or Instagram or something like that. They're more inclined to send you a DM or comment or something to that effect because it's less scary. They're not dealing with a real estate agent. They don't have that heavy hand, or you're going to sell to me, or I'm going to be committed if we start a conversation. So using that, if you're in a listing presentation and you are actively trying to sell it to your vendors and you're trying to get VPA from your vendors to put to your marketplace, let's look at this example. This is the results of an ad that we ran in Newcastle late last month. So as you can see, we've spent less than $20 on the ad. We've reached 2,407 people. Now, we targeted this ad from Killingworth out in the western suburbs of Newcastle down to Sydney's east. On average, people seen it at least once, maybe twice. But we had 172 link clicks. So for less than $20, out of 2,500 people that saw it, 172 people saw interest in it for less than $20. So think about that when you're going into a listing presentation and you've got those kind of results. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I've got a digital database. So what I want to do first, before we put you on the major portals, before we charge you thousands of dollars to go out there to the internet, what if I charge you $100 and we push you out to our digital database and we can get you a couple of hundred inquiries? Is that something that would be of interest to you? Now, do you think that you've now got an advantage over your competitor? If your competitor is going into the listing and they're charging $5,000 or $6,000 in marketing, all you've got to do to get an opportunity in the door, especially if you're a young agent starting out, this is a great tool. This is what I did back in the day. I didn't have the marketing budgets. I didn't have the branding. I didn't have the networks and everything behind me. I just had to go on the off-market or the pre-market listings, which are pretty hot in Sydney right now. So going into, what I found worked for me, going into a listing, saying to my owners, look, give me $100, let me put that on social media, let me put it out there to a digital database. I built that database up over 2013, 2014 to get to the point that in 2015, when I put a property on the market on the other side of the city, it sold within 3 or 4 hours above asking price and became the first property that did so. So guys, that is going to give you a competitive edge when you are in a presentation and let's say the owner's tight on marketing spend or wants to do things a little bit different. Everyone's on social media these days. Guys, if we look at a pre-marketing campaign, one thing that worked for me when I was coming through the ranks back in 2013, back in 2014, was I built up my database. I exported my database from my CRMs and uploaded them into the back of Facebook. I used those contacts to segregate the ads, to put ads that were relevant out to my database, out to my online database. In an industry at the moment where the market is so hot, vendors can often think, okay, if the market's so hot, why do I need to be on the major portals? There's no other marketing platform that is effective and can reach the amount of people that social media can reach. So think about that when you are in a listing presentation and you are coming up against the bigger agents with higher marketing budgets. And especially if you're a young guy or girl starting out, or you don't have or the vendor doesn't have the funds behind them to do it, this is a very cost-effective way of getting in the door, getting the agreement signed, and getting the property out to a lot of people instantly. So who's confused now? I know I've just thrown an awful lot of information at you. There's a lot of things that you're probably still up in the air about. Guys, this is a very intricate industry that we're in. It's a very high tech. There's a lot of things that are going on. There's a lot of things to understand. It can get quite overwhelming and it can feel like, okay, where do I start? I hope you've got some value out of this. If you have any further questions or concerns, please get in touch and I'd love to have a chat with you.